Welcome everyone to this launch meeting for the Climate Smart Education Systems Initiative Community of Practice. We're very excited to have you all with us today. We're just waiting for the last people to connect from the waiting room. So while we do that, I'll just take you through a couple of housekeeping, a bit of housekeeping information that will help us as we go through this session. So first of all, thank you very much for turning your microphones off and keeping them off during the presentations, just to make sure that everyone can hear properly. There will be an opportunity to ask questions at the end. So if you have questions, please keep them until then. But if you have any issues that you would like to signal, or maybe questions that can't wait, you can use our chat. And we have our team members who are monitoring that and will be able to interact with you through the chat. Before we go any further, please note that this session will be recorded. The recording will be put on the Community of Practice platform at the end of the session. So if you would like to watch it again or invite your colleagues to watch it, then that will be available. And I think that is all that I need to tell you. So I'm going to pass over now to Candice, who will let you know what we're doing next.
Thanks a lot, Camilla. And welcome to everyone to this new community of practice on climate smart education system. This community of practice has been created to build a dynamic and collaborative space where all the different countries will be able to meet, exchange, discover, and develop different information and information about climate change adaptation and environmental sustainability. So during this launching webinar, I'll take you to the agenda now. We'll first have a short introduction on the community of practice. Then we'll set the stage of this community of practice and introduce the main thematic of this community of practice. Then we'll take you through the different technical modalities of the community of practice and re-explain to you how to register and what are the next steps. And of course, we'll keep some time at the end of this webinar to have any questions from your side, and we'll be happy to exchange on that. So without further ado, we'll start with a first activity to get you all involved in this webinar. So if you could all take either your phone or click on the link that we'll put in the chat now. I have a first few questions. Right, so, and I'll let Camilla share her screen with the responses of the Mentimeter. Right, so Camilla, are you? Yes, it's sharing now. Okay, so I hope everyone had a chance to click on the link in the chat. And if not, we'll give you another few seconds to join the Mentimeter. So you either click on the link and add the code, or you just scan the QR code. Right, so for the first question, we would like to hear a little bit about how your countries have been recently impacted by climate change. So we see that there's a first answer about the school closure due to extreme heats. Are there any other impacts that you would like to share with us? Okay, so we'll give you another few seconds. respond to this first question. You see that there's another impact on the infrastructure due to the rain. Are there any other impact that you would like to share? Right. Okay. So I think in the interest of time, we'll go to the next question. And I see also floods in the chat. Feel free to write in the chat if you're not able to access the Mentimeter. We'll be happy as well to read your answers in the chats. So Camilla, maybe we can go to the next question. So for this question, we would like to know whether you have been involved in the CESEI initiative in your respective countries. So today we have participants from 4 countries, so Cambodia, Malawi, Zimbabwe, and South Sudan. So we'd be happy to hear whether you have been engaged so far, and if so, in which areas. So whether it was in the risk analysis, in the development of a costed operational plan for climate change adaptation, also in the work on climate data, or the 3 of them. So you can click on 1, 2, or 3 answers. Okay, so we see that so some people have been involved in all the areas, which is super encouraging. We also see that some participants have not been involved in the initiative, which is also one of the purpose of this community of practice to expand the knowledge on the CESI work. So this will be a good opportunity for them to learn more about the work that we have been doing. Okay, so it's quite balanced. We have answers for the 3 areas of work. I think we'll give you another few seconds and then we'll go to the 3rd question. Okay, any more answer? Right. One more for data work. So work on climate data that has also been ongoing in the 4 countries. Okay, so I think, Camilla, we can go to the last slide. And here we would like to hear about what you're expecting from the community of practice. So what are your expectations? Is it to learn more about this CESI initiative in general? Do you want to take this platform to exchange the experience with other countries, to receive more technical input? So these are the different objectives of this community of practice, and we would be happy to hear about your expectations to be sure that we'll respond to that. So I see that more participants are responding, which is great. So a lot on learning about the initiative, but also on connecting with other officials, which is also one of the key objectives of this platform. Okay, so we have a majority to learn more about the CESEI initiative and then to connect with other officials. And then we'll have also some participants interested in receiving technical inputs, which will also be available on the platform. Right, so okay, my screen. Are you able to see my screen again? Great. Okay, so thanks everyone
Now,
for your
Candice,
participation.
we can actually we don't see we see the presenters mode. We don't see the slide.
Oops, sorry. Is it better now?
The presentation is coming. Now we don't see a presentation shared.
Okay, apologies for that.
It's coming, I think. Perfect. Right.
Coming.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, sorry about this technical issue. So thanks again, everyone, for participating in the Mentimeter, and we'll make sure that we keep your answers to respond to your expectations. And I'll now hand over to Leonora, who will be presenting about the work on climate change and education that our cluster has been involved in. So thanks a lot, Leonora, and over to you.
Great. Thank you very much, Candice, and colleagues, for this introduction to this exciting first event for the community of practice for planning for climate smart education systems. So very happy to be here today with you all. I'm going to just give you a little bit of context, and if we can go to the next slide, I think we've seen also in the Mentimeter the impacts that crises have, and you know about this much better than all of us. We have seen that the severe hazards and conflict place strains, right, on access. They weaken the demand and undermine quality, contribute to inequity, and erode learning achievements. And learners, children, youth in fragile or conflict affected or crisis affected places are actually twice as likely to be out of school as their peers who live in safe and stable environments. So, climate change also has the potential, unfortunately, to exacerbate existing vulnerabilities and to weaken coping capacities. So I think after the COVID pandemic, I think we've all realized and sort of taken stock on the importance of planning for and preparing for such events. We can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So, as I was saying, and as you have said in your responses to the Mentimeter, climate change can, impact through slow onset events and through extreme events, right? The relationship between education and climate change is not necessarily straightforward, but slow onset events, sea level rise, salinization, and also extreme events like cyclones or flash floods all impact significantly aspects of society, whether it's agriculture, health, the health sector, infrastructure, but also education. So climate change can impact both directly and indirectly. Directly by putting lives at danger, by damaging schools, closing schools. We saw some of those examples that you mentioned in the Mentimeter, but also indirectly. And I don't know if I saw any indirect mentions, but through food insecurity, forced migration, leading to a decrease, for example, in the demand for education in certain areas. So given these kind of impacts and effects of climate change, there's also an increasingly important and recognized need for education system actors to better understand the effects of climate change and to put in place measures to protect education and adapt to climate change. And we can go to the next slide, because I think there's a little bit of good news there, which is that, there is on the slide, Candice, sorry, you were right. You're on the right slide. I'm sorry. The good news is that, there's a solid policy environment for including education and climate adaptation efforts. It's increasingly recognized through things such as the SDG Goal 4 and the related targets. And investments have, increasingly been made in science and infrastructure. And more climate actors are recognizing that education is also an important public investment to be made, based on the research that has demonstrated, the importance of having prepared, informed, and educated communities on decreasing the effects of climate. So we can go to the next slide. So from IAP's perspective, and what we're kind of going to be focusing on throughout this community of practice, is the role that education can play through crisis-sensitive planning to help accelerate climate action. And this can include a variety of things you see mentioned on the screen: curriculum modifications or reform to include climate change adaptation, to include environmental sustainability measures. Teacher training, so that teachers are also vehicles and means to inform communities about the impacts of climate change and the way that education can mitigate those impacts. But also things related to infrastructure, ensuring that green infrastructure is available within schools, waste management that is green as well. And then there are also measures related to planning for the continuity of education, hazard-free kind of localization of schools, looking at, are schools located in flood-prone areas or where landslides are frequently occurring? Can those schools be moved, or is there other land that can be made available? All of these are some of the measures that can help education actors anticipate, prepare for, and adapt to the effects of climate change. And I know our colleagues from Cambodia, just some of you, I think, have just spent a week working with our colleagues, Mariela and E, on the operational plan. So designing some of these measures to help, accelerate climate action within the education sector. So if we go to the next slide, this just is basically a glimpse at the approach kind of that frames IAP's work in this area, really looking to embed aspects related to crises and to climate change throughout each of the steps of the planning cycle, whether it's the education sector diagnosis, where we would support ministries to undertake a climate risk analysis, as we've done with colleagues in all of the countries that are represented here today. Whether it's through the second step of the planning cycle, policy formulation, operational plan, consolidated strategy for colleagues in Malawi that have been working on that as well, looking at defining those climate adaptation and environmental sustainability measures that are part and parcel of education sector policies. And then the two last kind of steps of the cycle are not the least important, actually, the costing of that plan implementation and developing a monitoring and evaluation framework. Both of these steps help ensure the implementation of measures for climate change adaptation in the sector by identifying the costs, identifying sources for funding, and also by taking stock in step 4 through the monitoring and evaluation framework and saying, okay, how do I know if we're making progress towards the targets and the different activities that we've planned for? So it's really about a holistic approach to the planning cycle and embedding in each step this different lens, so to speak. So the work that we have been doing primarily through the CSESI, the Climate Smart Education Systems Initiative, is focused very much on, as I mentioned, the steps of the planning cycle with, like, let's say a deeper dive into the planning and policy aspects and the data and information. So, and we'll come back to this, I think, in a little bit, but looking at how we can use data and information from the climate sector, from the environmental ministry, from the disaster management entities. How can we use that as educational planners to understand through an education sector climate risk analysis what the impacts are on the education system? And how can we then use that to make the case for investment in the education sector? That's one. Then also developing ESAs, sector analyses, and ESPs, costing those adaptation measures as you'll be doing in Malawi soon, and as you have done just recently in Cambodia. And then developing the M&E framework. So you see the whole cycle of planning in that first kind of component. And then very much linked to that is the work that we do on data and information. So really looking at all of the data collection tools that exist within a country, whether not just specifically to education, but like I said, environmental ministry data collection tools, disaster management entities, education cluster tools, trying to determine and make sure that needs for data include aspects that will let you as educational planners understand the impact that climate change has on the sector. And then working with ministries to develop and to use, to adapt data collection tools, whether it's your annual school census survey, or as we've done recently in Zimbabwe, looking at the inspection framework and adapting that to include specific questions that inspectors can ask of school leads on their regular visits. So that's just a very quick glimpse at the work that IAP has been doing on climate resilient planning. And most of you have been involved, I noted in the survey on the Mentimeter, in the Climate Smart Education Systems Initiative, otherwise known as the CSESI. Which I won't go into too much depth here, but just to reiterate that the objective really is exactly what we have been just discussing, to embed climate change adaptation and environmental sustainability into plans, into their budgets, education sector budgets and strategies, and also to enhance this aspect of cross-sectoral coordination, because we can't say it enough. We need to be working with ministries of environment. We need to be working with disaster management entities, because they might have data. They have techniques. They have, done certain analyses. So how can we build on what they have done and work closely through more effective cross-sectoral coordination? And this is an initiative with funding from GPE that's being implemented by Save the Children, UNESCO's Section for Education for Sustainable Development, and IAP all together collectively. So on the next slide, you can see that we have 34. Well, it's kind of hard to see because there are quite a few small island states, but 34 countries that are currently eligible for the CSESI, including the 4 countries that are represented here today, and that will be part of this initial community of practice. So, and just to close on the last kind of technical support aspects related to the CSESI, as you'll see in component 1 and 4 are those components for which we will be focusing through this community of practice, because there are IAP kind of areas of expertise, and the work that IAP is leading is within these components. But as you know, we've really tried to design the CSESI in such a way that it is a holistic program. So it covers the cross-sectoral and internal coordination piece. It covers access to climate finance, as well as things related to green infrastructure, education continuity, and curricula, pedagogy, and teacher training. So those are areas that are focused on and are developed by Save the Children and by the UNESCO section for education for sustainable development. But we're really pleased to be here today to kind of do a deep dive into the community of practice, again, focusing on those 2 highlighted areas of work that you see on the screen. And I'll stop there and turn over to Katja.
Yes. Thank you very much, Leonora, for that introduction into the impact of climate change on education and how IAP, through particularly the CSESI work, is supporting countries to strengthen their resilience regarding these impacts of climate change. So one of the initiatives to strengthen the country's resilience is, and which is also part of the CSESI work, is this creation of the community of practice on climate smart education systems. And maybe just as a quick background to this community of practice that we are launching today, IAP during the COVID-19 pandemic had opened a first big online space for countries to exchange in real time about how countries are impacted by the pandemic and what different countries around the globe were doing to mitigate these impacts. And IAP really has realized that this exchange, and Candice, we can go to the next slide, this exchange between ministries is very valuable to really learn from each other about the different initiatives that countries are taking in in these situations of crisis. So the reason then learning from this experience, IAP, the reason why IAP opened up several communities of practice is to really facilitate this knowledge building between peers by allowing members of these different communities of practice to share useful information and knowledge about their professional activities in areas of expertise. So, for example, on climate change or on how countries are dealing with specific crisis situations such as flooding or extreme rain or heat. Then these exchanges also contribute to deepening the knowledge in a specific thematic field where IAP has expertise. Here, that's the field of climate resilience in education systems. But it could also be other communities of practice, such, for example, another community of practice is concentrating on gender equality in and through educational planning. So these communities of practice really aim at deepening the knowledge in this specific field, and in our case, the field of climate resilience in education. Then the communities of practice aim at encouraging networking among policy specialists between different countries with the goal of fostering collaboration, really direct collaboration between countries when it comes to specific questions and challenges countries are facing. Next slide, please, Candice. In our specific case, there's really three modalities that we are concentrating on to creating these spaces and foster peer learning. The first one is by strengthening the expertise through enhancing knowledge on integrating climate adaptation and sustainability into education policies. This strengthening expertise can happen, of course, through the different exchanges between the members of the platform, but we might as well, at specific moments in time, invite experts to speak about specific subjects, such as what kind of knowledge can be used, what kind of data can be used, or other specific thematic inputs that can be accessed through the community of practice, or resources that are made available on the platform. Then we really invite participants to share best practices on the community of practice, so that the different teams can share the tools and success strategies that they've used to incorporate climate considerations into educational frameworks, or also to ensure that education is considered in national climate policies. So here we'll create specific discussion fora with these goals in mind to allow the countries to share their success stories. How did they manage to ensure that education is part of the national adaptation planning, or how to make sure that climate considerations are really integrated in educational policies. And the third modality is a space to allow ministerial teams to discuss challenges that they faced when doing planning for climate resilience. Did they have specific strategies to overcome these obstacles that they faced? So really a space where ministry officials can share challenges and encourage each other and learn from each other about solutions that were found in the different countries. Now, next slide, please. Just a quick overview of the community of practice so far. As you know, today this event is the launch of the community of practice. We have received already a number of applications from you on the platform to be admitted to the community of practice. We will be accepting those of you who've already registered after the launch event. And we invite, of course, everyone else who's part of the launch webinar or colleagues that you think would be interested in the community of practice to register after the launch event. At the beginning, the community of practice concentrates or will focus on English, and all the content is in English. But we plan in the future, in the coming month, to also develop a version in French and Portuguese. And through specific modalities of the platform, participants will be, the communication between English, French, and Portuguese speaking participants will be easily made available. So there will be translate buttons so that you can also read the text from your French and Portuguese speaking peers on the platform. As we've seen already, the community of practice aims at promoting cross-country knowledge building by sharing of ideas, evidence, and best practice for climate change adaptation and environmental sustainability in the education sector, and by opening a space also to discuss challenges that countries are facing with the integration of climate change. So far, and we've heard this already as well today, 4 countries are joining the communities of practice: Cambodia, Malawi, South Sudan, and Zimbabwe. But in the future, we will open the platform to other planners and policy specialists from ministries of education of other countries vulnerable to the impact of climate, and who are engaged in the CSESI project. And as we've seen in Leonora's presentation, there is more than 30 countries that are part of the CSESI initiative. So it's quite a wide range of realities, which we really hope will enrichen these discussions and allow us to really learn from very different ideas and very different contexts, to really deepen the knowledge of the whole group that is part of the community of practice. Next slide, please. So this is just an image of Candice and I. We will be the coordinators on the community of practice. And in a minute, Candice will take you through how the platform looks. You'll see that you can find an image of the 2 of us as well there. We welcome you to always contact us if you have specific questions on the community of practice or on the content discussed on the platform, either via the platform, or we will also share with you an email address, Planning for Climate, where you can reach out to us if you have any questions. And with that, I'll hand over to Candice to take you through the specific modalities of the platform. Thank you.
And be a bit more concrete about the next step. So I'll start by playing a short video to give you a quick tour of the platform and walk you through the different features. So I hope you can
Hello,
hear.
welcome to the Community of Practice of Planning for Climate Smart Education Systems platform. Today, we are taking you on a virtual tour, so let's dive in. As you log in, you will arrive at the main page of our community. Let's explore the sections in the central column. The welcoming block is where we got the essential actions that can be done in the platform: participate in debates, find resource in the publications, access to other content or share content in the shared library, and contact the members in the members section. Below is the section where the coordinators shares valuable insights and orientations for the current week. This is the announcement section. This will enable you to organize your time for interaction and to make the best use of resources and exchanges in the community. We suggest you always check the announcements. The live exchange is a section that is the heart of interaction. You can take part in a debate, the threads, adding a comment, sharing a resource, reacting to your colleagues' contribution. That allows for keeping lively conversations and building knowledge together. The latest news is the best way to stay informed beyond our virtual walls. Here you will find education and climate-related content recently published and up to date. The highlighted content is where each week our platform offers a curated selection of valuable content, video, articles, and many other resources ready for use. The publications, access to the latest publications on the subject that will be updated constantly. On the right column, you will find the coordinator blog. There, it is visible and easy way to contact the coordinator via private message. They will be happy to provide you with assistance you require, so please don't hesitate to contact them. Below, you will find the event and activities block, where you can see the details of the event. If you require registration access, it will be there, and you will have a debate to discuss prior and after the event. Also, there will be access to the post-event survey. Below, you will find the shared library, where you can access theme documents, download, or grab the link. There, too, members of the community will be able to upload documents in a folder assigned for that purpose. On the left column, you will find the details of your profile, and below, the access to the different members of the community. If you look up in the top right corner, you will find a drop-down menu. Click here to access your personal profile. Click the button to edit your profile information. You can upload your picture and also update your personal information, as you can see here in this menu. Speaking of connections, the drop-down menu also leads you to your private messaging. There you can see your message history or send a message to a fellow member. And this is the end of the virtual tour. We encourage you to forge connections with professionals from diverse backgrounds, swap virtual business cards, attend events, and build relevant knowledge together.
It was, again, a lot of information. This video will be available on the platform, so you will have time to go back to the recording if you have any doubts on where to find the information. So just quickly, that's what was showed in the video, but I just wanted to go back on a few points. So as explained in the introduction and in the concept notes, through the community of practice, you'll be able to take part in asynchronous activities. So these activities have been designed to help you have as much flexibility as possible, so you can participate and collaborate at your own pace. Then the community of practice will also include synchronous activities like live online events and closed session with different specialists. And these sessions will provide you with the opportunity for real-time interaction and discussion with the specialists, but also with other participants of the community of practice. As for the content, you also have access to a range of resources including the key publications, as the video was showing, the latest news on the topic, and also featured content we'll highlight every week. There'll also be a shared library where anyone can upload and access the documents, and this library will be available in English, French, and Portuguese. When it comes to communication, we'll use the forum to facilitate discussions on specific themes, and you'll have the option to create or join private groups to have more focused conversations. And finally, on the main page, you'll see all the important announcements that will be posted, and we'll see on a weekly basis the information about upcoming events and specific discussions. And finally, you'll have the personal profile that you'll be able to update to include personal information you wish to share, and this will allow other members to connect with you directly. So in terms of next step, we invite you to register on the platform if you're interested in joining the community of practice. We'll just post the link in the chat now. So you just have to click on this link and create your profile. This shouldn't take you too much time. We'll also share at the end of the session the recorded video as well as the link. And you can contact us if you have any technical issues on how to join the platform. Then once you have registered, we'll ask you to update your profile so that others in the community, as I was saying, can learn more about your background and your area of expertise. Then we ask you to take a moment to introduce yourself on the Welcome Forum. So this will be a great way to start building connections and let others know what you would like to bring to the initiative, what you would like to learn from this initiative, and what are your expectations. And finally, we'll start with a first discussion forum on the 10th of July. This will be a first discussion on the impacts of climate change on your country's education system. And this will be the first opportunity for you to share your perspectives, to hear from others, and to start building collective understanding of all the challenges, but also the opportunities that arise from the impacts of climate change and all the initiative that has been proposed in your respective countries. So these are the next steps. As Katja was saying, we're both coordinating this platform, so feel free to send us any message if you have any questions. There is our email at the bottom of the page, and we'll take now time to answer any of the questions. So feel free to turn on your microphone if you want to ask direct questions, or post them in the chat. Now quickly open the chat to see if we have any questions.
So far, I don't think we have any questions in the chat. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. And indeed, if you have any questions on the functioning or anything that was presented today, you feel free to either write a message to the chat or ask your question directly. We are happy to answer them.
We also know that our colleagues, Marielle and Annie, were in Cambodia recently, so we know for the Cambodian colleague, you might also have received a lot of information. So that was great to see many of you.
We've also posted our email address that is specific for this platform for the community of practice. So if there's any questions that come up after the meeting, you're also very welcome to send us an email via this email address eduplanning for climate@IAP UNESCO. .org. The email address is also in the chat. And we are really looking forward to seeing many of you on the community of practice. As we've said, we will now start admitting the applicants that we've already received through the platform, and we are looking forward to more colleagues signing up after the launch event.
So I think if we give you another 2 minutes, if you had wanted to type any questions, and if not, we'll close the session because we are conscious of everyone busy schedules, and then we'll share again, as I was saying, the presentation and all the links for registration in the coming hours.
And then we are very much looking forward to continuing the conversation on the community of practice.
Very good evening, Katja.
Good evening.
Yeah, I'm hopeful you remember me.
I do.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much. That very informative presentation regarding the climate change. This is the big, I can say this is the big classroom for us to learn. Yeah, it's the correct word to use the term community practice. That is my personal question regarding the former, account I used to have with IIP. I don't know who I can contact to get that back because I, even I myself forgot it. Even the the username and password. I don't know whether you can help me on this. Gotcha.
Thank you very much for that question. And indeed, many of you were involved with different parts of either as trainees at IIP or as taking part in other online activities. And indeed, it's great if you keep the same account. I'm not sure if exactly my colleague Camilla knows a bit more about this. Thank you, Camilla.
Yes, absolutely. So the global training platform that many of you were signed up to previously has been merged with our new MyAP platform. Your account may have been moved over, but if not, you can just create a new account. So we would suggest that you try and connect with your usual email address. There's a modality on the platform to reinitiate your password if you can't remember your password. And if the system, if you're having any issues, if it seems like the system doesn't recognize you, then just recreate a new account. If you're blocked and you can't get on, please do write to us straight away and we'll try and sort that out for you. So for all of you, your username should just be your usual email address.
Great, thank you. And I see another colleague said that there might be more questions once everyone is exploring the platform indeed, and then you can just easily connect via the platform with Candice and I, and we can respond to your questions via the platform. Yeah, if there's no one else that has a question at this moment, I think we can close the session. And we thank you all very much for your time today. We are looking forward very much to hearing from you on the platform. First, the Introduce Yourself forum, and then, of course, in our thematic discussions that will start in July. So, yeah, we are very excited and looking forward to these exchanges.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. I think we can
Yeah, we can
close the Zoom. Yeah.
session probably.
Thank you.